We'll give it a few more minutes.
Greg and Donnie, you guys don't exactly look like interns. I'm not sure what's going on here.
Wait, we're
Just being nosy.
That's fine.
I was going to start off with that too, and saying I sent it to all the managers just so that they could, if they have interns that they could, help them get on. But this is week 4 of INCLINE. INCLINE was started to bring together our interns that primarily that were in between their junior and senior year to get to know a little bit more about Summit materials. They're getting excellent experience within their opco that they're working for. But we wanted to kind of share who Summit was as a whole, and that's why we created INCLINE and give them give interns opportunities to learn and strengthen some career-ready competencies, as well as a lot of discussion around career management. And I think, that's primarily the topic Ab will, to focus on, is talking about his career and giving advice of, working in the family business and selecting Summit to sell Boxley to, how he grew it and what decisions he made within the organization to build it to where it is today. In the last couple of weeks since Tom did the presentation, I thought it went really well when we did an introduction and asked an icebreaker question. Ab, do you have a specific question you want me to ask, or do you want me to go with what they're looking for in an employer?
I like where you are, Amanda.
Okay. So we have a few of the interns on right now, and what we would like to do is introduce yourself to Ab and to the group. And then the question this week is, whether you whether next year you'll do an internship or you're going to be graduating and looking for, kind of that full-time employer. We'd like to hear from you, what are a couple qualities of an employer that you guys are looking for? And so, Abby, why don't we kick off with you? I guess that's the joy of having an A.
Yeah, that's fine. My name's Abby Steyer. I'm a student at UK. I graduate this December, and this is my 4th summer internship with Hinkle Contracting. In an employer, I'm looking for a sense of community and somewhere where I feel welcome and belonged and like a good community.
Good. It's a great answer. Brittany, do you have any interns with you right now on your computer? Okay, Colin, you're up next.
Okay, I'm Colin Becker. I'm a 2nd-year intern at Cornejo. I'll be a senior next year, so next year I'll be looking for a full-time job. I guess some things I look for in an employer is kind of like every time you go into work, it just feels like a family, like everyone gets along with each other. And then also, one thing that I think is super important is a group of staff that are just willing to share all their knowledge and ready to show everything they know about the business.
Good. I think a lot of times we've had when we were giving advice to you guys, it was, you know, ask as many questions and all the opportunities to learn. So hopefully it can be given back, like what you said, those that are willing to share. Donnie, it doesn't look like you have anyone with you. I just wanted to make sure that you didn't have an intern in your office.
I do not. I've got two interns working with us this year in my division, Abby and Clayton Woolwinder, and Clayton's not here today.
Okay, great, thank you. Greg, I can't see underneath the mask, you want to introduce yourself?
Go ahead. My name is Brendan Henniger. I'm a sophomore at UK, so I'll be interning again next year. And I guess something I kind of look for in an employer is just the opportunity to play just a role in kind of a team environment to like put into the success of a business or whatever's going on. So
that's good. Giving some responsibilities. Jake Gessler, would you introduce yourself and what you're looking for in an employer? I think you are on mute.
My bad, I apologize.
It happens all the time.
My name is Jay Gusler. It's my second summer working for Boxley down here in Fieldale. Really enjoyed it so far. And what I'm looking for in an employer is a people-driven company that cares about the employees, cares about the safety, cares about the quality of their material as well, and also cares about the customers. So,
great. Nick Clark.
I'm Nick Clark. I'm in my second internship with Boxley this summer, and I think I'll probably be having another internship next summer. And I guess what I look for in a company would be someone that shares similar values to me and how I feel about stuff, so that there's no conflicts in that end of things.
Good. It's important to align yourself with a company that has the same values. Ripkin.
Hello, guys. I am at HAM this summer. My name's Ripkin Dotson. This is my first internship within the Summit Materials Group. The thing I look for the most within a company or an employer is a company that empowers individuals and especially new hires or new interns or any kind of new position to make strategic and important decisions that directly affect the company as a whole and result in good things or good outcomes, even if it could potentially cause a small setback or failure, because that's how you learn.
Yep, agreed. Big people, big jobs. Okay, so this is a little bit more informal. I don't believe you have a formal presentation, but you're gonna be speaking to the group. If you want to get off video, that's fine. If you want to stay, it's again much more informal than previous presentations. So I will pass it off to you, Ab.
Okay, thanks, Amanda. I actually do have I don't know if I have a presentation. I certainly have a lot of notes because I've thought about this a great deal. First of all, let me say I'm honored to be asked to be with you guys and gals, Abby. When I say guys, by the way, that's not meant to be gender specific. That's just figure of speech in Southwest Virginia. But two things occur to me, and I'm trying to think back. One is I'm incredibly jealous that I'm not you at your age with sort of whatever you want to be and wherever you want to go, like in front of me. I have been with Boxley about 40 years. Obviously, I went to work for a company with my name on the door, which is a little different. And frankly, I didn't exactly intend to do that. A lot of people assume, well, you just grew up in the business and you went there, but that wasn't true at all. When I graduated from business school, the Darden School at UVA, sorry for you Hokies, Um, I really thought I wanted to be in real estate development. And I looked a lot harder at coming back with our company, and I did that. I was pretty young. I was 25 when I finished grad school. 5 years later, my dad died. So that was sort of I don't know if that was good luck, or certainly bad luck for the rest of us initially, but it is the situation that I was in. And I want to sort of share a little bit about that with you, but mostly talk to you about things that I would have wanted somebody to talk to me about when I was in your shoes and thinking about it. Before I do that, though, I made some quick notes when you guys were talking. And I mean, you could have written what I'm getting ready to say, and I really mean that. Sense of community, feels like family, opportunity to play a role, people-driven company, shares my values, empowers new hires to make important decisions. I mean, that pretty much, if I had to give you some advice about what I would be looking for, check, 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 check. I mean, those are precisely the kind of things that you ought to be thinking about. So I'm gonna address sort of three questions that Amanda had for me to give with you guys. What I'd really like to do is don't be bashful. Stop me, interrupt me. Let's just talk. But I want to talk a little bit about career path lessons and things I've learned along the way, and I'd like to share with you. I want to talk specifically about Boxley's mission, vision, and culture, because that's where I was for 35 years, and that's kind of what I know the best and what I believe in, quite frankly, and sort of what type of employees do well in that culture, and what was Summit a fit for that. And finally, a little bit about Summit's decentralized model. We're a little different than most companies in that regard, and I think it is a unique and really valuable the way we do things. It's totally different than the other materials and integrated companies that you may be considering for a future career. Again, you guys are way ahead of the curve. You're doing internships, you're getting real world experience. I hope it's a good experience. I know that this year has been a little bizarre, to say the least. COVID-19 wasn't on anybody's radar, certainly not mine. And we've all just had to make do. So back to you guys. Sort of my number one thing on a career path, let's just think about how you get from where you are to wherever you want to get. Above and away, the number one thing is to be great, outstanding in every regard at your current job, especially that first job. You may get put in a position that you really weren't dying to do, or doing a task that you don't love. But my number one thing is, if you want to get ahead, be world class at the current task. Don't spend too much time thinking about 3 and 5 years from now, except to know that where you're trying to get in a career big picture. You're all students, so I say focus on learning opportunities. If you get a job, opportunity where you can learn something else, jump on it. One of you guys, who was it, talked about, Colin talked about a staff that's willing to share. Amen. Work for a company where they want to explain everything to you, Colin, and want to help you grow and develop. That's just, I can't tell you how important that is. Another one, be flexible. You might have in your mind, I'm an engineer and I want to do engineering and be in a drafting board, and somebody says, I want you to be the quarry foreman. That should tell, it's a ding, ding, ding. That should be a notion that somebody thinks you're pretty good because they want you to be in charge of a group of people. So be flexible. You can come back to that engineering if that's what you really, really want to do, but do it. And lastly, not lastly, but another thing is seek out mentors. I was telling somebody last night, I've got 3 people in my life that I consider to be sort of lifelong mentors. One of them passed away. 2 of them still living, much older than me. And one of those guys I talk to literally every month. Obviously, I don't talk to him about my career path anymore, but I just found that to be extremely helpful. Even if you don't go to work for Summit, if you've got somebody at Cornejo or Hinkle or Boxley that you develop a relationship and you trust, by all means, just stay in touch. you'd be surprised where it might lead you. A big thing to me is when you're trying to get down the road is develop your leadership skills and seek out opportunities through Summit or somebody else to become a leader. It's hard to learn that in school. You have a bunch of technical skills, probably the type of folks that end up in our internships do, your engineers or some other skill set, geologists, and those things are really important for tasks, but for running a group of people, leadership skills are number one. We've got some Summit training. Sign up for that if you end up with us. Join an industry association, become a part of that where you can see other leaders. Read. I remember years ago sharing a book called Lincoln on Leadership. It was about Abraham Lincoln's leadership style. It's a short, easy read, but a fantastic way to think about how to lead a group of people. I'd really, if you're trying to develop a path, the most important thing is your personal goals. What do you want to be? If you have a sort of a goal to be in charge of an engineering group or a technical track, let people know what that is. Or if you want to be in a plant manager, or you want to be a vice president, or you want to run a company, the best thing you can do is think about what you want to do and understand, and then start asking, well, what does it take to get there? We've got a brand new plant manager at AMC, which is one of my team. I'll talk about my region in a minute. And her name is Emily, and she was on a performance team with Summit. And I remember going to a conference with her about a year ago. And I said, Emily, what do you want to do at Summit? She said, I want to be a plant manager. Well, the fact that she knew exactly what her near-term goal was made it just that much more likely that she would get there. And guess what? A year later, or a little more, she's a plant manager. So if you understand where you want to be, it's a lot easier to get there. I think when you get right down to it, particularly if you get into the line or operations side of the business, operations, sales, or any leadership position, your success is much more dependent on your ability to lead through others first and your technical skills second. And I know that you're going to hear that and you're going to go, yeah, but trust me, Donnie and Greg will tell you for sure at the end of the day, knowing how to fix a crusher or screen is important, but knowing how to get a group of people to do it on their own is way more important. And that's really the skill set that I want to just keep reminding you. Study it, think about it, ask about it. So how do you get there? I think we have a strong preference for people who want to run something or want to run a unit. And if you want to get ahead, particularly if you want to be in charge of something, take that first job. Like I said, somebody says, I want you to be the pit foreman at a plant in Kansas. Jump on it. It probably won't be the sexiest job you ever do, but it will be an unbelievably good experience. If you're a good foreman, you're probably going to be looked at to be a plant manager. If you're a good plant manager, that's how you become an area manager. And if you're a good area manager, that's how you become a VP of operations and so forth. I mean, it's all about being good at the task at hand. I can't remember, Greg, your first job, but I know it wasn't sexy. You might have been running a loader or you might have been shoveling underneath a belt. I don't know that, but you're an area manager now, and you didn't start out as an area manager, for sure. And Donnie, I don't know what your career path was, but I guarantee it didn't start as area manager. Nobody's does. If you're sort of a sales, I don't think we have anybody in this group that's sort of a sales or marketing type. Tell me if I'm wrong. All right, heads are shaking. No. Okay. So sales tracks are sort of the same way. You probably get asked to be a lab tech or be in dispatch or on scales. That's how you really learn what's going on with the materials or with our customers. Sales rep is generally the next job. Sales manager, VP of sales. Similar sort of ideas with technical tracks for engineering, environmental, geology, safety, and et cetera. The difference between, I call them technical tracks or staff tracks, there's not as many positions in a company. So, in my region, we've got sort of one person who's in charge of engineering, and we have people at each OPCO, but there are multiple plant managers at each OPCO. There are multiple area managers, with just more possibilities if you look at operations as a way to get there. Also want to talk about, somebody mentioned the ability to do things and make a employee. It was Ripken. You're talking about empowering new hires and making important decisions early. I think one thing that I love about Summit, and Boxley certainly fits this mold, is we don't really believe in you got to be there 20 years to know how to do something and know how to contribute. We give people a lot of responsibility really early, and I think that's very appealing. I was 30 years old when my dad died. I was made president of the company. We were much smaller and not very complex business, but I had 150 people looking at me and saying, "Okay, now what?" It can be done. Boxley's got a young man named Bo Farr who's just turned 31. He's a Virginia Tech guy, by the way, Jake and Nick, and we don't hold that against him. But he started out as a trainee, and then he was asked to be safety director. Probably wasn't ever in his career path, but he jumped on it. He did it. Did a really good job as a safety director. An opening came up for plant manager, so he ran a plant, a quarry in the Lynchburg area, and then, and this is kind of a bizarre twist, Jeff Perkins, the president of Boxley, reshuffled some things, and we had an opening for as vice president of sales. And with very little sales experience, but a really great skill set and just a presence about him, Bo Farr at 30 years old was vice president of sales at Boxley. It can happen. So again, but he was flexible. He was willing to learn. He studied leadership, and you could just see it in Bo, and he's doing a great job. Still got a ton to learn, but we all do, right? I would say that flexibility and the willingness to raise your hand and volunteer, or if you talk about something that as an employer we value, we love volunteers. And we also like people that speak up and say, "Hey, I'll do that," and let us know in advance. I can't stress enough, be willing to do a job, especially early on, that you're just way overqualified for. And you've got a degree in whatever you've got a degree in when you graduate, and you're probably in your mind overqualified for most things, but take that job and just be great at it. But trust me, that is the number one thing. If anybody, and I'm not assuming this is true, anybody has a goal of sort of getting to the top, you want to run an OPCO. And Summit has a lot of operating companies, and so we have more opportunities to do this than most companies. If you want to do that, this is a really great place to do it. And sort of here's the way that works. You got to take multiple assignments in different areas if you're going to run the business, right? You got to be good at what you do. That's number one. That first job and that next job, you got to be outstanding at it. Really need some line experience, operations or sales to get the top. It's not absolutely mandatory, and I'm talking about an example right there in Kentucky right now where that did not work that way. You got to be willing to move, and I think being willing to move will really accelerate your career if you can do that. And then ultimately, you got to have some financial literacy. You got to know what it means to make a profit or avoid a loss. Or somebody talked about, I guess it was Ripken again, making some decisions, even if they're mistakes. I love people that are willing to make a mistake, financially or otherwise. They just got to understand to run a business, how we make a return. So, and you'll be given those opportunities to learn the sort of the business side of the business. It's very, very important. And so I sort of sum up on the career path. There's more than one way to get there. I mean, Steve Lee, who's president of Hinkle now, Steve was a financial guy. Never run a quarry, but really dug into the business, got some great leadership skills. And I think he's probably asking you guys a question a second trying to figure out how to ramp up what he doesn't know. But the most important thing that he's doing is he's trusting the team that is at Hinkle to do what they do and do it well. And that can work very well. He's been at Hinkle 5 years. Try to understand where there is in your words. In other words, if you're trying to get there, be able to articulate where there is. Emily said there is, I want to be a plant manager. The more you can say that, the better off you'll be. Volunteers, I mentioned, manager's dream. We love that. Let somebody know what you want. And really, most importantly, be willing to work to get it. There's really no handouts. You don't get a 4.0 if you got one by just showing up for class every day. You don't get to be the president by just being there. It's work. And there's no substitute for that. I'm going to shift a little bit into sort of what I do. And Amanda, if you would, I don't know exactly what time I started, but I tend to ramble on when I'm yapping.
Sure.
So maybe in 15 minutes max, wave your hand and say, hey, time to stop, because I really want to Q&A this thing.
Okay.
I'm president of what we call the East Region and Summit. So it's Hinkle, Boxley, American Materials, which is based in Wilmington, North Carolina, and Georgia Stone Products, which is based in Atlanta. Georgia was a startup from zero. We had nothing in Georgia 3 years ago. And by this time next year, we'll be between 2.5 and 3 million tons from a standstill. So it's a very high growth business down there and a big old market outside of Atlanta. Well, we got some really great businesses in the East. We are primarily an aggregate business. We have two great construction companies in Hinkle and Boxley, but aggregates is really what drives the train. Our model, I really think, so I've got, as I said, 4 opcos. The people that run them, 2 of them were primarily in sales and marketing. Jeff Perkins at Boxley and Rich Moses at AMC. One was in operations, that's Bart Boyd at Georgia. And as I mentioned already, Steve Lee was in finance and was an accountant. He's the president of Hinkle. So different ways to get there. And our model really creates those opportunities that I'll talk about. So sort of switching to Boxley, and the questions are sort of our values, our culture, what makes Boxley tick. You could do this if you want to, but the Boxley website, boxley.com, I think is a really good one. And it's sort of, to me, is what you see is what you get. Boxley's 100, and when we sold to Summit, we were 124 years old. We had 4th generation leadership, which was yours truly. Started out in railroad construction, got into aggregates, bought some, sold some, and then when I took over, we vertically integrated starting in the 90s. Today, Boxley has everything that Summit does except landfill. So aggregates, asphalt, construction, ready mix, and block. And we may be the only block business still remaining at Summit. I'm not 100% positive of that. Got in Jeff Perkins as president of Boxley. Been with Boxley about 20 years. He'd been with Vulcan and also a Tarmac and a company in the lightweight aggregate business. We sold to Summit in March of 2016, so a little over 4 years ago. And I want to talk about culture because a couple of you mentioned culture when you were talking about what you're looking for. And even if you didn't say the word culture, I think it's what you meant. Like, what's the environment that I want to work in? And I think you stick with that thought and do not settle for a job just because the pay is a little better or sexier. Find the company that feels right for you. Here's a definition of culture. I just looked this up yesterday. It's formal, and I'm going to talk about one that I believe in. It's the beliefs and behaviors that determine how a company's employees or management interact and handle outside business transactions. That sounds like a bunch of bullcrap to me. What is culture? It's really the cumulative traits of all the people that have worked in a company. Boxley's culture, Hinkle's culture, Cornejo's culture, Ham's culture. It's the sum total of all the folks that ran that business. And that's all culture is. The wrong people with the wrong way of looking at things, quite frankly, can kill a culture, or they can make it great. And I think that, at least at Boxley, we have been very purposeful about what our culture is and helping new hires understand it. I'm glad Jake's nodding his head. If he didn't, I'd be pissed off at Jeff and the Boxley team, quite frankly, because, I mean, you need to know what you're getting into, and it's a two-way street. I don't think that I don't really like employer-employee because we're all on the same team. We want people who want to jump into things early and make some mistakes. And we want you to want us as bad as we want you. And if it doesn't fit, don't take the job. I keep saying that. If it doesn't feel right, don't do it. Boxley's mission, I guess we formally stated it in the early 80s, and it's changed one time. And the only reason we changed it is because we got in the construction business, asphalt paving and construction, and our mission had been a supplier-driven mission. Well, when we're a contractor, you're no longer just a supplier. So Boxley's mission is very simple. We deliver quality on every project backed by a commitment to safety, service, and reliability. It's the Boxley way. So there's some words in there that really make a difference to me. Delivery, we think, is a big part of what we do for our customers. But commitment is probably the biggest word in that whole thing. You know, we're committed to delivering quality on your project. That's an internal thing. If I'm doing a quarry plan for somebody, then I'm committing to deliver a quality quarry plan. If I'm going to deliver a project on the road, we're committing to a quality project. Our vision, and this is where you guys come in, is to be an industry leader in every facet of our business, but most importantly, and to attract the talent to sustain it. The only thing that determines the growth rate of a company, in my opinion, is you guys, future talent, period. We can have the best balance sheet, the best assets, good markets, but if we don't have talented people that know how to work together, somebody mentioned, a team where there are no conflicts. I think that was Nick. Right on. I mean, friction will kill a company and kill your ability to get things done easily. So I think the mission is super important. I asked Lori Basin, who's Boxley's HR director and is not a long-term employee, well, what do you think Boxley's culture is? I don't want to just talk about it because I was a part of it for 40 years. And she got with another young plant manager of ours named Spencer, and she said, well, I think several things. Integrity and transparency across the board, open communications. No one really wants to take a lot of credit for what we do. One of Tom Hill at Summit's favorite lines is embrace humility. He lives that, and he totally believes that. I've never seen Tom beat his breast about the success of the company. He always reflects to the OpCo leadership for generating the results. And when things aren't working well, he's really great because he takes the blame, as it were, for not succeeding. The other thing, this is from Spencer. He said, I really feel like Boxley values its employees, its customers, and the community seems to feel it too. People understand that Boxley is a good place to work. I've heard people in Lexington say, oh yeah, Hinkle, that's a great company. I mean, if you've been around and you have a sort of family roots, Cornejo, big time family roots, in Wichita, Ham has big family roots. These things people in the community understand. It makes people want to be a part of what you're doing. And I think those are super important. And there's a reason, frankly, that Summit doesn't slap the Summit name on the sign when they buy a business. Summit name means nothing in Southeast Kansas. Zero. Summit name means nothing in Atlanta or in Roanoke, Virginia, but our local names really do, and that's why we're sort of set up the way we are. Here's something else Lori said, which I really like. She said, I feel like our leaders really drive us for success where there's no goal that's too big. But we were reminded every week about the importance of and given the time for family and friends and things outside of work. That is easy to talk and difficult to walk. And I really think that, and now I'm just speaking for Boxley because that's where I was most of my career, you got to be willing to make time for people to have a life. And if you do, things are so much better. You got to get away, and you got to recharge, and you got to understand there's more to life than work. I think one of the Boxley things we talked about a lot is, hey, we spend 50 hours plus a week doing this, and it needs to be fun. I mean, we need to laugh a little bit with one another. We'll be able to joke with one another, tease one another. A big thing that we always did was we give each other nicknames. And the earlier you get a nickname, the better you're doing. So I don't know whether you guys as interns have got nicknames yet, but if you have one, that means they like you. And it makes things personal, right? It makes it sort of regular and not just sort of corporate. I think it's at Boxley, and I'm going to say this for Summit, you succeed by being a good person. You succeed by valuing all of our employees, by doing good work and having fun. And this is not my words. These are people I asked what they thought. People want to know where they fit in. One of you guys talked about, being a part of the team and how they contribute and then take the initiative. I said this before, but I think at Boxley we've done a good job of giving high performers responsibility at a young age. And then successful leaders really like that. I mean, Greg, I don't know how old you were when you were plant manager first time, but you couldn't have been 30. How old were you?
I was actually 22.
22?
When I become a manager, supervisor.
A supervisor, but when you were the plant manager, I know you were less than 30 when you went to Boxley.
26.
26, okay. So there you go. So Greg was supervisor when he was 22, the plant manager when he was 26. You guys are not that much younger than that. And that is absolutely, not only is it possible, if you want it, it's probable. I mean, we're a growing company. We're trying to create those opportunities. And we love that. And last but not least, I say Boxley, it's transparent. I remember one time I was given a chat at a summit, maybe it was a president's forum, and somebody said, and I was talking about the things we share with our employees, and somebody in the audience said, well, did you share this information when you were just Boxley? And my answer was, no, I shared more. And I hope Greg will nod his head and agree with that, but we pretty much told everybody what was going on and how we were doing to the profit level, because as far as I'm concerned, it wasn't really a secret. And we got to be profitable to grow long term, and we shared that. And let's say the corporate responsibility, and nobody really said that sort of per se, but now I'm talking about safety, environmental, community involvement. Somebody did mention community involvement. It's not a slogan. It really defines what you are. I would say at Boxley, involvement in the community is something that really isn't optional. It's not something we do for recognition. We do it because we are the community, and we super believe in, being involved. If you work with us, we want you to be a T-ball coach or a Sunday school teacher or a volunteer, at the Y, or any Rotary. Just get involved, because first of all, you'll enjoy it, and secondly, it'll be good for the company as well. And that's just a part of what we've done for a really long time. If you look at the website at Boxley, there's something there we call, I'm going to pull it up right now, the Boxley Way. And under the Boxley Way, we've got something called Boxley 360. And just a lot of ways that Boxley is involved in the community and other things, sustainability as well. All right, I'm going to shut up in 3 minutes, Amanda, I promise. So the Summit model, when we say we're recruiting folks, and it's a different model. It's more complicated for our staff like Amanda, but I think for you guys it's great. So the basic motto is you can start at Boxley, start at Hinkle, start at Ham, start at Cornejo, and go anywhere at Summit. You can start with really a family business that's part of a $2 billion corporation and go anywhere. You can have a career as big as you want to have it in a family business that's in your community. I think that's really different. Our recruiting strategy is frankly aligned with the business model. Sort of the benefits of local, as we say, versus the benefits of scale. We've been talking, Jake and Nick, to faculty at Virginia Tech for at least 30 years and probably 40 or more. I know we have some relationships at UK and other schools where you guys are going to school. So we have these local relationships where we bring people into Summit because they know Boxley, but they may end up at Cornejo or Ham or Kilgore or somewhere else. And that's really, size creates the opportunity for growth. I talked about our model where we have 4 regions. Each region has multiple opcos like mine. Summit sort of sets some global standards for HR policy, finance, environmental, legal, safety, and so forth, but we really run the business. Nobody tells Donnie and Greg from Denver which plants to run, at what rate, and what products we're making today. It just doesn't happen. I don't do that either. I mean, because if I got to do that, I mean, something's wrong, right? Something's real wrong. Everything from who to hire, to what customers, to what the product pricing, operational decisions, your schedules, everything, geology, new sites, that's all done by the opcos. And I think that's what gets back to, if you want to plug in and have what I call a seat at the table early, you can have a seat at the table at one of our opcos, because if you get hired, there's a need and there's a reason. And to me, that is the funnest part of being a part of a small business within a big business. Abby will probably tell you she's been involved in stuff in, what is it, year 3? This is year 4?
Yeah, this is my
What,
4th.
did you start when you were 12?
I have an extra semester, so I graduate in December. So I took another
Okay.
internship.
Great. Yeah, so when there are projects that are real projects at Hinkle that I'm certain that Abby's involved in, because I've been hearing her name now for almost 2 years. So, I mean, that's the other thing. At the local level, we're small enough, we're going to know your name. And if there's anything that defines the difference between being in a big corporate monolith and a bunch of family companies, is it's personal, and you're going to know my name and I'm going to know yours. And that is different. That is definably different. And to me, it's a very attractive place to be. So last thing I'll say about Summit and the way we do it and our brand is, people say, well, why'd you sell the Summit? And this is a really easy question for me, because I've been saying the same thing to everybody for almost 5 years now when we first started talking about this. I said the same thing, I mean, literally everybody. The first one was, if you're going to sell your business, it has to be fair to the owners of the business. I mean, there's just no way around that. You're not going to sell something for less than it's worth. If you got a used car and it's worth $10,000, are you going to sell it for $5,000? I hope not. And if you would, I really don't want you working for us. Okay? So it has to be fair to the owners of the business. But then the important stuff. Number 2 was, we were looking for somebody who valued our team and valued what we brought to the business in terms of expertise, but the culture of the business. You know, and Summit was a perfect fit for those values, in my opinion. And the third thing, there's only 3 reasons that we decided Summit, was we wanted someone who respected the culture and our commitment at Boxley to the community that we've been involved in for all these years. I'll never forget, we're sitting around the table with the sort of Boxley leaders and the Summit leaders, and doing something that we call due diligence, which is just a fancy word for getting all the details before you close a deal. And somebody was looking at our income statement and said, wow, you guys give, I think it's like $250,000 a year to local charities, United Way, and other things in your community involvement efforts. We could probably save some money there. I won't say who said that, Amanda. And Tom said, time out. If we cut that budget in half, Boxley is not Boxley anymore. We're buying Boxley. That one comment to me said everything about Summit that I needed to know. And the only thing I'll say about that Summit in this regard is doing deals is not easy. It's an excruciating process. And selling your business, quite honestly, it is not fun. It's like selling your firstborn or something. But Tom and I basically shook hands on a handwritten sheet of paper that had 6 or 7 basic bullets on it. Here's the terms of the deal. And that was in December of 2015. In March of 2016, we closed, and every single term that we agreed to, we closed on. So no bait and switch, nothing changed. And that might sound a little up there and maybe even above your head, but it really comes back to keeping your word, doing what you say. And I feel like Summit embodies that in everything we do. And it was a perfect fit for the Boxley family and our people to be a part of that culture. Sorry for talking so long. I really want to answer questions.
Thank you, Ab. Okay, students, now's your time.
Well, I had some questions, but you pretty much covered everything. So
I couldn't have, Jake.
the handful that I did have, you did cover really well, and I really appreciate that. I'll come up with
You're
something.
welcome. Okay.
I have a question actually.
Okay.
What kind of, so you said you had a business degree. So I'm graduating in December with a mining engineering degree. If we have like career goals that include upper level management, do you feel like an MBA is important to have, or is experience important
That's
to
a
have?
great question. So a degree in and of itself is not important, but it can help. The most important thing from the very first thing I said, Abby, is just do a really good job at what you're doing right now. So I hope you come to work, for Hinkle in December. And if you do, the most important thing for you is to do great at that first assignment. If you aspire to, let's say, run an opco, then, as I said, along the way, you've got to learn the business side of the business in addition to the mining engineering and how to run a plant and maintenance practices and the things that, frankly, you don't learn in school. I would say this particularly about an MBA. For me, it was extremely helpful only because at the time, I was extremely young and put in a position that I wasn't ready for, but I did have a skill set that I had learned at a good business school that, frankly, nobody else in our company had. And I used some of those tools to help us grow faster and I had the confidence to be able to do that. I understood the financial side of the business well enough because of that training. A couple other things that you didn't ask relative to that, but I just, since I have the stump, I can use it. If you're going to get an advanced degree, don't get an MBA from just anywhere to say you got one. You're going to get an MBA, get a good one. Work hard and get yourself into a really good program. Because the difference between an okay one and a good one is big. And the second thing is, I don't know, Abby, if this is Summit policy. It's certainly been something we've done at Boxley for years. We have helped many, many people pay for an MBA or another advanced degree. And don't be afraid to ask and say, hey, I think it would help me and help the company if I, did this on the side or took some time off and did this. As long as we know what you're trying to get, we've done a lot of stuff with that. Jeff Perkins, who runs Boxley, I went to Wake Forest and got an MBA nights and weekends. He came to me and he said, I really want to be an OPCO president. Well, actually, he wanted to be the president of Boxley because we weren't part of the summit then. And I said, good. I want somebody to want my job. Let's do it. And we figured out how to make that happen. And I could name several others. We even got Greg to go back to college. Didn't we, Greg?
Yes, I did. Yep. Had a really good experience.
Anybody? No dumb questions either. I like people that are willing to take a risk and make a mistake. And there's no mistakes you can make today.
Ab, do you think that Corona and COVID is going to affect Summit being able to finance some of that higher education in this coming year? Like, do you think that's going to affect people being able to go back to school?
That's a great question. I don't think so. Because if you think about it, that further education, that's a long-term strategy for all the right reasons. As I said, we only grow as fast as our talent enables us to grow. Summit is actually outperforming what we thought we would be doing this year in spite of COVID-19. And frankly, in the big scheme of things, when we're spending, $150 or $60 million a year on capital expenditures, financing educational expenses, it would be short-sighted to cut those off. Now, I know that we were really nervous in March and April because we just didn't know what this COVID-19 situation was going to be. And it still doesn't feel anywhere close to normal. We're in masks, and I would be too if I'm in a room by myself. But I hope not. I certainly don't think so.
Okay, thank you. And then I guess a follow-up question would be, what advice would you give these students as they're entering the job market now that Corona and COVID, or Corona/COVID, is such a big factor? How would you encourage them to speak to their future employer about it? What questions would you encourage them to ask?
That's Corona is such a different thing, and frankly, all of us are learning as we go. I mean, I'm on the board of another company that actually had a pandemic plan, but nobody else I knew had a plan to deal with it. And we're sort of figuring it out as we go. I would say that, what we're doing right now is going to be a fact of life for a while. We're going to have to interact with one another in things like Teams or the other Zoom, other products. And so you're probably going to interview that way. But all the basic things that you do to get ready for an in-person interview would be the same as an interview like this. And I would say that I didn't mention this much earlier, but really key to success, communication skills are so darn important. And it's harder to communicate and sort of give people feel for body language and sort of interest level and sitting up in your chair. But to the extent that you can do that, when you're on that face-to-face on Zoom, dress for success, just like you would in a face-to-face interview. Look sharp. Know what's in the background of the picture that you're in. It's amazing the funky things we see in the back of people's Zoom pictures. For a while there, people were sort of showing up in whatever they, woke up in. Hey, don't do that anymore. That doesn't cut it. And then find a way to get on site, and even if it's, socially distant, whatever you got to do, because it shows an interest. Hey, I'm willing to come down there. I know the protocols, but I want you to see me, and I want to see you, because it's really a two-way street. We still need to hire people. We're still trying to grow this business, and you're just going to have to show a little initiative that's different. I don't think we're probably coming to a job fair where there's 30 or 40 or 50 people, right, Amanda? I mean, that isn't going to work. We're going to have to, if we come when we come, we're going to have to set up one-on-ones and do things that way, and then do things this way. So.
Yeah. Good advice. I have a question. You talked a lot about kind of that level of output to be successful and hard work. And have you ever experienced burnout in your career? I mean, I would think that's kind of where my mind jumped to. If you're constantly, pushing yourself, have you ever personally experienced that? And if so, is there anything, that kind of overcame it for you?
Anybody that hadn't been burned out hadn't pushed it very hard. So absolutely. And so here's a couple things that I would say. One is you're a lot less likely to get burned out when you're working in an environment that you enjoy with people you like being with. I can name a specific individual that made my day miserable for a while, and I took care of that problem. So that's one. You're going to have, and if you work for a company that literally says we ought to be having some fun while we do it, the work is a different type of feeling than just grinding. But I'd say most importantly for that burnout thing, you got to recognize, and we have to recognize as employers, that it's really important to get away. And when we say take vacation, I don't mean phone in your pocket answering calls every 30 minutes. I mean, put that stuff away and clear your cobwebs and do whatever it is you do to have fun. I mean, I know that Denver crowd loves to go up in the mountains, skiing, hiking, whatever. Do it. Who was it? Somebody was telling me that she'd go to Japan to go skiing on Mount Fuji or whatever because the powder was so good. I mean, just whatever your getaway is. If you like to hunt and fish, get away, put it down, and recharge batteries. And if your supervisor or whoever's running your side of the business doesn't freely and openly say go for it, then let somebody know, because that's just wrong. So vacations are there for a reason. Take them. And if you're just in a position you're miserable at, again, raise your hand and say, hey, this is wearing me out. We're all human. Time off's really, really, really important.
Good advice. Anyone else? Well, I know you recharged my batteries today, so I really appreciate the time. That was very motivating.
Mission accomplished.
Yep.
All right. Thanks, Amanda, but I'm really looking to the others. Nod your head if it was okay. If it's not, tell Amanda and get somebody else to do this next year.
We got a survey every week. We'll know.
Okay, well, good, because this to me is fun. I really I love talking with you guys. I wish we were face to face so we could sort of talk about anything and everything under the sun. The big fish you caught last weekend, or bike ride you took, or whatever. I hope you're enjoying your experience, and I really hope you come back.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you.
See you.